What if the very feelings we've been taught to push away are the doorway to love, safety, and belonging? What if the courage to stay in the body with everything that arises is actually our most profound spiritual practice? Let's get into it. Welcome to Star Potential, a podcast where we explore the meaning of our existence while having a few laughs and sometimes tears through stories from the road of life. I'm your host, Julie Jo Hughes. As a stage performer, my life is quite literally about song and dance. I believe that life here on Earth is a playground for discovery, not a contest to be won. We ask questions together like, how do I evolve my consciousness? And how do you sing a passionate ballad when there's an old guy in the front row with his balls showing? True story. Stick around for these fun conversations. Welcome back to Star Potential. I'm your host, Julie Jo. In today's episode, I'm joined by Bela Crowder, the creator of the Embodied Heart, which focuses on the radical act of feeling. Together, we explore what it means to stay with our emotions in the body rather than analyze them, how love is the most powerful force of transformation we have access to, and what devotion to the heart actually looks like in the everyday moments of our lives. This conversation is both tender and expansive, a reminder that wholeness isn't something we find out there, but something we return to within. So if you've been longing for a deeper connection to your own heart and a way to live with more authenticity, vitality, and love, this episode is for you. And stay tuned. We talk about Bela's upcoming in-person retreats happening in both California and Kansas in September 2025, which I will be a part of, and maybe you'll be able to join us as well. Enjoy. Bela Crowder is a devoted facilitator and guide of the Embodied Heart, a body of work rooted in intimacy, presence, and the courage to feel. After years of numbness and anxiety, she discovered the profound wisdom in learning to truly feel, and now supports others in remembering their inherent wholeness. Through her retreats and programs, Bela invites people into an honest relationship with themselves, opening the way to a life of love, authenticity, and vitality. Welcome, Bela.
It's good to be here.
I'm so curious. A lot of your work talks about feeling as a spiritual practice. And myself included, so many of us come from this old paradigm of push through, don't pay too much attention to your feelings, might hold you back. That the courageous thing or the strong thing to do is just keep going and push yourself outside of your limits. And that only works until it doesn't, right? What do you think is helping us shift into this new paradigm where, as you put it, we discover that it's actually more courageous to feel?
It's a great question. It's a great place to start. I believe that as a collective, we're really young when it comes to this topic, and a lot of what we have learnt or think feeling is what I call emotional reaction. And so when we're in a place of emotional reaction, there can be a lot more, depending on the emotion, volatility, aggression, collapse, overwhelm, blame, all these things that we kind of instinctively and intuitively feel like that's not good for us. And I'm here to say, yeah, I agree. It's not necessarily loving or supportive for our growth and evolution to be in those reactive patterns. But because feeling and reaction or emotion have been almost conflated, there's an understanding of the nuance. And so when I speak about feeling as a spiritual practice, I'm actually speaking to something a little bit deeper than emotion. I'm when I say feeling, I'm talking about intimacy with self, our capacity to stay engaged with our body, with our heart, with our nervous system, um, throughout life. Let's just say, put it that way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when we learn to stay in a world that teaches us to leave, or like you said, to kind of get push it down and get on with it, and
Mm-hmm.
we learn to really stay and welcome intimacy with ourselves, welcome what we are feeling, I believe that's when we really get in touch with our true nature, with who we really are underneath these habits and patterns and addictions, beliefs. Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and for me, that's what being here is about. Yeah.
Wow. And when you say here, you mean here in this human experience?
Yes. Here in this human experience, here on this planet,
Mm-hmm.
here in this life.
Yes, I love that. It's the idea that the reactions or the more volatile kind of triggers that we have in things, that's just kind of our surface layer programming, wouldn't you say? And what you're talking about is something that's innately there, something we came here with, right? Not something that we learned, or it's not a role we're playing, but what we truly are beneath all of that reactionary stuff.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Who we are, who we really are. And we've learnt to be something different. We've learned to kind of separate from our nature, or contort or control or deny, reject our nature. So
Mm,
to belong, so for safety, ultimately, right? Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And how do you think we start to walk that distinction between where we're molding ourselves to belong and honoring who we truly are? Because there's certainly a line to walk there, and I feel like sometimes it's just with more life experience we begin to choose, well, I'd rather be on this side of the line rather than belonging. But there are times when this side of the line feels necessary, so in our everyday lives, how do we kind of walk that line, being true to ourselves, understanding that we still are kind of an individual in a society that works with each other? Does that make sense?
That's a great, yeah, it definitely makes sense. And it's a great question. Um, and the way I'll answer this is hopefully practical enough. Um, I like to say that our only job is to meet ourselves exactly where we are and to love ourselves there. So that is much easier said than done. Yeah, because it would be easy for someone to go, what does that even mean? Love myself there, or
Yeah.
no, I don't deserve to be loved there, or no, that. So that is the whole practice in itself. But really, what I mean here is if I can trust um, love ultimately to make that choice for me, if I can
Mm,
trust my body, my safety to navigate this choice that you're speaking to, right? So
yes.
if I'm in a group of, I don't know, if I'm in a situation, right, and I'm having a lot of grief come up, and maybe there is wisdom in my heart, in my body, which is right now it's not it's not safe or loving for me to completely surrender or allow this grief in this context.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
less interested in the reasons of my mind for that, and more am interested in just trusting my body, going, okay, um, this is where I am right now. I'm not safe. Safety, of course, is an inside job ultimately, unless we are literally not in a safe.
Yes.
I'm not talking about that. Yeah.
Yes.
But I trust my body that if it's like right now, it's time to just, um, you know, hold things together a little bit. That is not a decision that I'm making from my opinions about what I should do or shouldn't do, or what I
Mm-hmm.
perceive to be safe or not safe. This is one example of course, many examples of how I trust if I choose to bring my presence down into my heart, into my body, and I honor the truth of that moment. I trust what what results, whether I allow, in this example, the grief or I don't. I trust my
Mm-hmm.
body. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, again, that capacity to stay intimate with the body and therefore trust is a whole practice in itself. Some people would feel like they have zero reference for what I'm talking about here, and fair enough.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
And I think we are probably all born with this voice that's loud and clear, that the voice of our body, the voice of our
yeah,
heart. And then somewhere along the way, at least in my personal experience, it's not that it wasn't still there. It's like the signal became staticky and I started tuning into other signals I was getting from my head and my conditioning. And
yeah,
it really does take conscious effort to learn how to tune back in to the original frequency. And
yeah.
maybe you could speak to us a little bit about that because there's lots of signals coming at us when we're in a social situation, right? And maybe you could help us for someone who is a little bit newer to listening to their body, listening to their heart. How do we begin to kind of drown out some of that external noise to hear that voice?
Mm, great. First, where my what my answer wants to come out as is to slow down,
Mm,
because we live in a world and we are conditioned by this world that currently is moving at a pace that is faster than our authentic pace.
mm,
Right? And
mm.
there is a reason for that. Again, safety.
Yes,
If I'm moving faster, if my mind is working faster, if my nervous system is going faster than my authentic pace, it means I'm always a little bit separate from my truth, right?
yes.
Separate from myself. And there is safety in that separation. There is some safety in that
Mm,
buffer between me and me. And if I'm always running from myself, just a little bit, whether I'm conscious of it or not, most
mhm,
people are not, then I don't have to feel.
mhm.
And and because we don't grow up in a world where we are taught or modeled how to stay and feel, feeling is perceived as a threat,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm,
getting intimate with ourselves is threatening to the nervous system. So
mhm.
we're always moving a little bit faster. So the first thing I would say is practicing slowing down,
Yes.
and and that can be as simple as syncing up with our natural breath,
Mhm,
and learning how to stay really with our awareness engaged with what's my natural rhythm here. And normally people in doing that will notice where there is some resistance to slow down.
mhm.
Yeah. We either get bored or we
Yes.
get distracted or we get frustrated or
Mhm.
uh, whatever. There's many ways we that it shows up. But ultimately, it's not safe to slow down.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know one voice that would call to me a lot was that it's not productive. And not
Yeah.
being productive feels unsafe. If I'm not productive, I can't provide. I can't feel like I'm doing everything I can to keep myself affluent and things like that. And so it does. It's
Mm.
crazy how it feels unsafe to slow down. It sounds
Mhm.
silly when we say it out loud, but it's very, very real.
Very real, very real. And I think that's a very relatable one, again,
Hmm.
because of the society we live in.
Yes.
Um, but when we get underneath the belief, like meaning sometimes I often say feel but don't believe. So like that
Mm.
in itself is a practice. How can we stay and feel what's actually the root of that belief, that it's
Hmm.
not productive, um, to slow down, or my worth is, threatened, or my survival even is threatened if I slow down, right? Um,
Right.
if I would always encourage someone to get more intimate with the visceral experience in the body, which in this case would likely be some fear. Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think it's less important if we're talking about feeling, it's less important to understand why am I scared or even where it's rooted,
Hmm.
eh, trusting that, of course, there is a reason, but just focusing on staying present with the fear in the body, that itself is uh, such a gift, such a gift to
Hmm.
us. So kind, so loving. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
How can we kind of gain awareness? There is a I think there is a power too in becoming the observer of what's coming up in us
yeah.
versus riding that wave and getting attached to it. So maybe you can help us a little bit to understand that distinction between feeling our feelings, letting them run the show versus feeling the feelings, gaining awareness on them and letting them inform kind of what we feel next.
Yes, yes. I would call this the difference between being consumed by,
Yes.
yes, or me actually being in charge, being the container for feeling to happen inside of,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, sometimes I get clients to say statements out loud to support their practice, their embodiment.
Mm-hmm.
And so my name's obviously Bella, so I would say Bella first, right? And there's a practice here of going, okay, for example, I could be feeling grief. And how can I choose to have my awareness on me primarily, staying conscious in my choice to be in my body and allowing the grief to be felt, but not a few things, not believing what I'm making the grief mean about me. So that's a
Mm.
trap. The grief means I'll be alone forever, for example. If I
Mm-hmm.
start to go down that, if I start to believe that narrative, that belief will create a whole other reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I might get
Mm-hmm.
the grief might it might exaggerate the grief, for example,
Yes.
or another thing is it's too much. The belief might be this is too much. I won't survive. I can't. This is too much feeling for me. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if I believe that, then what would happen? Again, my nervous system might take over and I might get overwhelmed or go into a panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
I am no longer I am no longer in charge. This is the language I use. Like I am no longer consciously choosing to stay in my center. I have now forfeited my choice and my nervous system is in charge.
Ah, interesting.
My history is in charge. Whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is. For some people, it might be, like I said, the overwhelm, depending on,
Mm-hmm.
of course, our conditioning. So for some people, it might be shutdown,
Mm-hmm.
complete shutdown. I can't feel anything. I'm frozen. That
Mm-hmm.
that is also a reaction to feeling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Secondary reaction, which I needed to adopt for safety because I wasn't taught how to be with feeling itself. So I
Mm-hmm.
had to learn how to find safety, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So there's a little bit of a distinction between feeling and reacting. That's,
Hmm.
of course, it's just semantics and words I use, and some people might swap emotion for feeling. But in my work, there's a distinction between feeling in my heart or reacting in my nervous system. And I
Yes.
think, yeah,
That's a beautiful distinction because that's yes, that's definitely two different things that we could easily confuse if you're just looking at the surface of this subject.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And most people do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
Well, that's what's so exciting about your work is that you're really walking us through how do we do this in our present day lives, right? And so I'm also curious about I didn't realize that you were an astrologer and had come that astrology must deeply inform a lot of the work you do. To tell us a little bit about that connection.
Yeah, sure. I found astrology first. That definitely was my entry point into self-discovery and
Uh-huh.
um, widening my perspective. And I love astrology because one of the reasons I love it is the way that it allows us to really identify our uniqueness,
Hmm.
yeah, in our gifts, also in the ways that we protect ourselves, in the ways that we might avoid intimacy with ourselves. I find that quite fascinating and supportive for a person to know that, yes, we are in many ways very similar, but in also many ways very different. And yet we are all avoiding self-intimacy, but the way we avoid that can look so different. And and
Hmm.
so that is where I enjoy the kind of crossover with astrology, with looking at, oh yeah, there is nuance and difference and uniqueness in the way that we access ourselves as well as avoid ourselves. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Which is so beautiful that we each have our own just things that we bring to our human experience and our personality, right? And then by understanding ourselves better, it helps us understand others around us and reminds us that everything is just, we're all a different point on the same sphere.
Mhm.
And I loved that phrase that you just used. I think you said widening my perspective. And there are so many beautiful tools that can help us to do that. It's like you have to kind of zoom out to help you zoom in. And
Mhm.
you need both, right? Like there's
Yeah,
and so much of your work is about tuning inwards. And I believe like me, I read that you had come from anxiety and things like that were sort of your triggers and your catalyst for going
yeah.
inward. I think
Mhm.
a lot of us reach a point where we're going outward, 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 trying to find all the things and grasp, right? We think we're drowning, we're grasping at everything outward and around. And then finally, when we collapse inward, is where we discover it all, but it
Yeah.
actually widens the perspective by going so zoomed in.
Mhm. Yes, yes, there's a paradox, totally. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I do believe all the answers that we are seeking outwardly are ultimately here within our hearts or bodies. We have access to truth, to
Mm,
wisdom. And I also love how that wisdom expresses differently through everyone. Yeah, the way
yes,
that it will be a gift to the collective looks different. Yeah, yeah.
yes, beautiful. Can you paint a picture for us a little bit the difference between what we're going through? And I know that you speak a little bit to processing and analyzing things with our mind versus
Mhm.
actually feeling things. So, what does that look like in real life?
Uh-huh. The difference between analysis, processing with the mind, and actually feeling. So,
Hmm.
hmm, feeling. requires us to uh, choose not to know, to
Mm.
surrender our, I could say, addiction to needing to know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Needing to
Mm-hmm.
know what's going on, what this means about me, what's coming next, what this means about the world, if I'm doing it right, if I'll be loved here, if I'll be accepted, if I'll survive. I
Mm-hmm.
could go on. There is the mind or the ego, that's its function, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for safety, yeah. Um,
Yes.
when it comes to feeling, we're kind of exercising this weak muscle, which is intimacy with not knowing, surrendering the kind of the need to know, the grip to understand, and trusting that if I drop my awareness, my presence into my body and use that instead of it being of service to trying to analyze and figure out, I'm using my mind to stay engaged with my body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the practice. Just like meditation,
Mm-hmm.
but here on the heart, and here we're allowing feeling to happen, right? I'm choosing again and again to come back and to surrender my need to know. That is when only when we are willing to let go of needing to know does feeling happen.
Ooh, that's so big. Yes.
So when we are analyzing ourselves, or trying to figure ourselves out, which there is nothing wrong with, of course, but we are not feeling. And
Mm.
there will be a point where we do need to surrender analysis. We do need to surrender trying to figure out it out so we can actually make room for a different kind of intelligence, a, a,
Mm.
a, a deeper knowing. So I say choosing not to know, it's up in the mind, right? But when I really can surrender my need to know, then I make room for a different kind of wisdom. Yeah. And
Yeah.
a common example I see is like when there's a big decision in someone's life. Do I leave the relationship, or do I go for this new job, or do I move countries, or whatever? And
Mm-hmm.
it's quite significant. It doesn't even have to be, but normally it's those ones that there is some kind of threat,
Yes.
yeah, in the decision. And we so often with clients or with friends or people, I just see such a fixation on trying to figure out what is the right thing, what is
Yes.
trying to figure yourself out, trying to looking through this lens of black and white, yeah, wrong and
Yes.
right, trying to analyze the shadow, all of these things, when really there's such a shortcut there, which would be to surrender needing to know and drop into what is there is an attempt to avoid, drop into feeling, and through feeling what we don't want to feel, which often in this case of making decisions is often fear,
Yes.
feeling the fear, eventually that wisdom comes with clarity. Oh, with
Wow.
oh yeah, like this is it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm getting like full body resonance here. I feel like that was personal message for me in this conversation today. It does feel unsafe to feel fear. I mean,
Yes.
like we've taught
Yeah,
ourselves it's you're not allowed to feel fear. Just be strong.
exactly.
But
Yes. Yeah.
but the salvation is in feeling it
Feeling.
and letting it inform.
Yeah. Yes. Growing our capacity to feel fear, to stay.
Yes.
That's what I call courage. Courage is feeling fear and doing it
Mm,
anyway.
mm,
Staying and feeling, not bypassing, which a lot of, we're taught to do, is
yes.
swallow it, deny it.
Yes.
And of course it's going to come and rear its head.
Yeah. It'll keep knocking either quietly or eventually loudly, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
I feel like a lot of these questions are kind of related, but it's different angles of coming at the same types of things. But I feel like a lot of us hear that phrase a lot, follow your heart, follow your heart. But your work is really about living in devotion to the heart. So it's not just follow the heart, but what's the difference between follow your heart and practice devotion to your heart? And how does that change the way that we show up for ourselves and others?
Mhm. Mm. I feel that the devotion to the heart is a giving in to my true nature. I mean, I'm starting to get a bit kind of less practical in this answer, but I am devoted to being devoted to my heart is being devoted to who I really am underneath who I've been taught I am, who I think I
Mm-hmm.
am, my concepts, and that really requires, like I said before, courage. It
Mm-hmm.
requires vulnerability. It
Mm-hmm.
requires a commitment as well to sit in the unknown, to love myself where I haven't wanted to love myself. Another way of
Mm-hmm.
saying that is to stay with
Mm-hmm.
me where I haven't wanted to stay with me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To also admit honestly and with kindness to admit where I haven't wanted to let go of my beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
my stories and my identity, ways of being, to admit with love.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so often also see this kind of this trick that we are all been fed, almost this lie that there's somewhere to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Like once I get to the top of the mountain, then I'll have that whatever we're looking for, some relief, peace,
Yes.
satisfaction. When really I truly believe that lives in us surrendering to who we are.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what it looks like. And it's often different to who we think we want to be or who we think we are. Like I want to, this is what success looks like to me in my mind. Living in devotion to my heart is letting go of that attachment to who I think I am or where I think I want to get. And sometimes I say just submitting to my nature. And
Yes.
I don't get to control how I blossom, what it looks like for me to be me. I
Mm.
just get to I just get to choose whether I embrace myself or reject myself, right?
Yes.
And that embracing or loving of myself is like what allows that, the flower to grow, right? The flower
Yes.
doesn't grow through like telling it to grow faster or you know
Right.
it grows the way it grows and blossoms the way it blossoms. It's nature, right? It doesn't
Yes.
get right. We are the only species we are, that goes against our nature.
True.
Yeah, you don't see
Yes.
fish trying to climb trees,
Right.
right? But we humans, because of our free will, we go
Hmm.
against our nature. Yeah, and being devoted to the heart is coming back to our our nature, which again, back to that question with astrology, is of course different in an expression. It's
Yes.
expression. Everyone
Yes.
has a beautiful, perfect, and imperfect expression. Yeah, and
Yes.
so yeah, does that answer that question?
Yes. Yes. I love that. Mm. You talk about love being the most transformative force
Yeah,
that we can access. Talk to us a little bit about that versus like strength or
yeah,
pushing through, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So sometimes I say instead of I'll give an example, a kind of simple, maybe relatable example. We all have habits and patterns, of course, and we're aware of them, and some we want to change. For example, like I want to stop eating sugar, could be, that's a common one, right?
Yes.
I want to stop eating sugar. And then what happens? I go and I go for and I eat the chocolate bar or I get the ice cream. And then after it, I go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that?
Hmm.
Yeah. And okay, I'm going to put myself on a really strict, I don't know, diet or restrict something, or I'm going to use my will and force to kind of course correct this, to shift myself out of this habit. Yeah. And this is a simple habit, but of course, it's also prevalent. What I mean by love being transformative here is instead of trying to will myself in a different direction, or really like that you with, like I said, with force, how can I actually get more intimate with the root of my grasping for the sugar? For
Hmm.
love myself, and this can be easily used as a bypass, but it's not, because true love is, it's not an excuse. Like, oh, I'm loving myself. Yes, so you can just eat all the sugar you want.
Right.
Right. It's not excusing the behavior. It's getting intimate with what's actually going on for me. Not intimate with the mind, but if I were to, for example, slow down in that moment where I'm going to open the fridge, if I were to slow down and really tune in with my body, I'm likely going to find something that I don't want to feel.
Mm.
It could be very subtle, but there is something I'm not wanting to get intimate with and therefore go into the habit. And and if I can meet myself there with kindness and compassion,
Mm-hmm.
just stay, I'm painting a picture here and it's obviously going to look different for everyone, but for example, if I stayed, it might allow that kindness and compassion, this old kind of history that's been dictating this habit, to come to
Yes.
the surface and finally be welcomed and loved and therefore integrated rather than running the show from the unconscious. I don't want to, and there's a reaction to, oh, I don't want to feel this grief, or I don't want to feel this fear, or I don't want to feel this anger, so I just have this habit of eating sugar. And on the surface, I'm just trying to treat the habit,
Hmm.
right? And okay, maybe you stop eating sugar because you're strong-willed and yeah, but that unresolved piece that was initially, originally dictating that habit is going to pop up in some other area of your life.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It would be kind of like plugging a water leak, but then that pressure just forces it out a different hole, right?
100%. Exactly, exactly. Yes. Exactly. That's why you see a lot of people that are even very successful and they have very strong-willed and
Yes.
they can build empires, but then all
Yes.
of a sudden something very personal happens, or they suffer with a lot of depression or anxiety, or something will happen that they
Yes.
because they haven't wanted to look at that. Yeah.
Yes. And we don't always see those, right? Especially with our highlight reels on social media and things. It might look like everyone else has it all together. So that's an easy place for us to go is, these other people have it figured out. What's wrong with me? But remembering that there might be a lot going on underneath there. So that's one way we can be compassionate with ourselves. And I feel like another element that I'm hearing you say here is that love contains this element of curiosity rather than judgment. So when we're noticing, oh my gosh, I'm going for the sugar again, I think the curious aspect to that love has of interesting. And the other key element I keep hearing you mention is slowing down. And
Yes.
and if you're not willing to slow down, you can't really curious and slowing down go hand in hand, right? Like you kind of have to be willing to zoom out, slow down just a little bit to gain any kind of awareness on that curiosity. And then with loving awareness, we can make an
Yes.
actual shift.
Yes. And Loving awareness for me is just awareness with no agenda
Yes.
for anything to be fixed or changed. It's
Mm.
just meeting myself, staying with no agenda, with no judgment. Here I am,
Yes.
like you're saying, curious, open to what, wants to be felt or heard or known. I'm here. I'm staying. I'm not trying to fix you. I'm not trying to
Yes.
change you. I'm not, and that is what invites, you know, um, more honesty about what's actually going on. Just like
Yes.
the human, if I'm trying to fix you, you're not feeling loved, are you? If I have an
Right.
agenda for you to change, it's not loving. I'm
Right.
I'm not accepting you where you are, and ultimately that's all we want. We want to be accepted where we are. And then the beautiful thing that happens in that acceptance is we actually change.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
so key. It's when you
yeah,
don't force it, when you're not trying to force it to bloom, it does.
exactly. Yes, yes.
Mm.
And that's when I say that love does the transformation. I don't have to
Yeah.
do it. I just have to focus on staying without an agenda, without judgment, embracing, being curious,
Wow.
and then and I trust that the transformation, the change will happen from that place.
Wow. And that's incredibly liberating too, when we've come from this place of thinking we have to do, and achieve, and we have to be the one to make all these things happen. When what we
Yes.
actually discover through all of that doing is it just causes a lot of pain and not love for self, but critique and things. And this word you keep using, stay, when we
Mhm.
can stay there, love, watch, zoom out, zoom in, and be with the things that are causing this discomfort,
Mhm.
then the power of that awareness without agenda allows what we were desiring to bloom and blossom on its own. Mm.
Yes. And it might look different, right?
Yes.
You know, it might, if I were to really love myself, it might look like I'm less, what's the word, like less of a
And
high achiever, for
yeah,
example,
ambitious, maybe.
less ambitious
Uh-huh.
than I want to be, but I'm
Yes.
okay with me there. I'm
Hmm.
good with me there, right?
Mm.
And I in that maybe recognize, wow, maybe my ambition were rooted in some kind of not enoughness, some kind of deficiency. Where
Yes.
it's like I fill that deficiency up with love. I no
Yeah.
longer maybe I'm even more ambitious, and that's my
Right.
natural. But potentially I'm just it doesn't seduce me anymore. I'm not inspired by that anymore, actually. I'm maybe inspired to
Yes.
go plant flowers outside. Who knows?
Yes. Yes. Which
Just
might be a lot more fulfilling than that thing
yeah,
you were chasing.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. Beautiful. In your own life, when has living from your heart or having the courage to feel, when has that asked the most of you? Could you give us
Mm.
an example of that? And when you said yes to that, what did you find or what changed for you?
Mm. Wow, that's a great question. For me, it's always in difficult moments. In the ending of uh, in the ending of a relationship,
Hmm.
staying in my words, feeling would mean just allowing my natural response to change, which in that case was grief,
Hmm.
fear. Yeah, and to really practice staying, feeling, allowing the grief, allowing the fear, and not going to my head and making it mean something about me. Why didn't I? I should have, if only, or
Hmm.
I'll never again meet anyone, or this is what, projecting into my all of that it's like going to the gym and again, not not believing, not investing in what I want to make it mean for safety, right? I do that for safety. And as I chose in those moments that were difficult and really asked a lot of me, because there were a lot of mechanisms, when I stayed and stayed and stayed and eventually met myself where I had never been met by myself or by another. You know, I was able through choosing my love first, through
Mm.
choosing to stay and to trust also something bigger than me, something bigger than my mind of what I thought my life should look like or who was the person for me.
Yes.
When I let go of that and trusted and felt, then I was gifted, I could say, like gifted more of me. I like
Oh.
met more of myself, freed up more room, was more intimate with with my own wisdom
Mm.
and more free because I was willing to stay and feel.
Hmm.
I grew my safety, which is really the foundation of all, you know, what feeling does is it grows our safety. It grow
Okay.
it grows safety is my capacity to stay in my body, Bella first, and not leave, not need to resort to my history, to
Hmm.
habits, to patterns, to addictions, to
Hmm.
stay. Therefore, I'm more here. Like I'm more awake in my life. I'm more
Hmm.
present. I'm less needing to, you know, go to my head to find safety, less anxious, less
Yes.
believing of my stories. I'm more surrendered to life and trusting. Um, and when feelings are here, I'm safer to let them come and move through me and feel and meet a new moment fresh rather than avoiding or resisting what I'm feeling, which is really the root of suffering. Is
Yes.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
That's really beautiful. Mm.
yeah. Thank
By
you.
surrendering from what you thought you knew and you thought you knew best, you actually grew your capacity to love yourself more.
Yes, exactly.
Hmm.
And you know, we know that's just there's a list. There could be a whole book on what that offers us when we choose, you know, to
Yes.
love ourselves, truly love ourselves, not
Yes.
just not just the concept, but really the willingness to, okay, here I am and stay. Like I keep using this word stay, but that
I
is
know,
a
I love that. Perhaps we'll write a song for you with that. That could be the name of it. And perhaps you'll write us the book on what we can discover
yeah,
when we surrender to the heart.
one day. That is the plan. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Bella, tell us a little bit about how we can work with you. How can they find you? And then we want to tell them about your upcoming retreats that are going to be here in the US as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So there's a few ways you can work with me. One-on-one is a way doing, you know, sessions where I ultimately am supporting you to grow your safety, to stay in your body, to be honest with yourself, to love yourself where you have been scared to or not known how to. Um, so one-on-one is a way, or yes, these retreats that are coming up in the US in September, which there's something very special about doing this work with others
Mm,
in community or with a group of others that are, when you have a whole room of humans choosing honesty,
mm,
choosing to surrender the grasping of the mind, choosing vulnerability, you know, it's really special because to do this alone is one thing, but to do this with others, to witness others in their vulnerability, to be seen and to be witnessed, to feel the shared, you know, humanity
mhm,
ultimately. Um, yeah, so there's something I really love so much about the in-person retreats that I offer. That
mm,
is, you know, if people have the resources and the time, it's really that's transformational.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, I offer astrology sessions one-on-one, one-off astrology sessions. That's also something I offer. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes, so you can kind of get that zoom out lens and then
Yes.
work with you at a retreat or one-on-one to get the zoom in lens as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm certainly excited to be part of the retreat. So, just to name these dates here, I know September 5th through the 7th, you're going to be in San Clemente, California. And there's also the following weekend, September 11th through the 14th, back in San Clemente, California. And I'm excited to be a part of that one. And then you're going to Kansas, September
Yeah.
24th through the 28th. And that is a very special 5-day retreat.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we've got a 3, a 4, and a 5 that they could do, or all three would be magnificent. Um,
Yes.
I will link all of that in the show notes as well, and they can follow you on Instagram at Bela Crowder, BelaCrowder. And then you also have belacrowder.com, which helped me to just get kind of a broader awareness of your offerings and where you come from and what it's kind of like working with you.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Everything's there.
Beautiful. I would love to go into just some fun questions here at the end. And before we do that are a little more on the personal side, and before we
Yeah.
do that, is there any last experience or wisdom that you'd love to leave us with just to kind of cap on our talk here today?
Mhm. Hmm. Yeah. I feel to just reiterate and maybe invite those that are listening to investigate where maybe what we are really terrified of is is love,
Mm,
is letting love in, um, and not because love is scary, but because it will change us. And yeah, to get curious about maybe that's the root of a lot is
mm,
my fear to actually change.
mhm.
And sometimes I often say, like, we humans will choose known misery over unknown happiness.
Wow.
Mhm. Because
Yeah,
it's known.
right.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
familiar.
Yes.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
that's powerful. Mm, thank you. Okay, just for fun, let's get to
Yes.
know some things about Bella. A- As a kid, what did you always want to be when you grew up?
Hmm. I actually wanted to be a professional soccer player. I was
Wow,
obsessed. Yes.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you still play soccer for fun?
I actually don't, but I felt the desire recently. I saw a soccer ball like a week ago and I was like, oh, I'd love to
Wow,
play around. Yeah, I was very enthusiastic about it. I mean, let it go a little bit in my late teens. Yeah.
nice, nice.
Mm.
Which season of the year makes you feel most alive?
Mm. I definitely have to say summer.
Hmm.
Yeah, I grew up in Bali
Oh,
actually, so my first 13 years of life, I grew up basically in summer all year round. So
wow.
I love the sun. I love the heat. I
Yeah.
I love long days. Like I'm here currently in Europe, and there's something special about the sun going down at like 10 p.m. It's
Yes.
crazy, but
Magical.
yeah, magical.
If you had a theme song for every time you made an entrance, what would that be?
I'm gonna be creative with this one. I feel like it would be something from me in each moment. Like I would, depending on how I feel or where I was at, what I was inspired by, that I would explore, singing or playing an instrument or drumming or being free and creative in that expression. That's been a new ground for me. And
I love
yeah,
that. It's such a present expression of that question.
yeah,
Finish this sentence. When I'm 80, I'll be.
Mm. I'll be alive and filled with gratitude and
Mm,
joy and love for my life and my friends and my family.
beautiful. Favorite dessert?
Mm. It's a hard one because I do love dessert. It's simple. I'm going to say simple dessert. I really love a good brownie,
Mm-hmm.
like chewy on the inside, kind of crispy on the outside. Yeah.
Mm. Perhaps I'll bring you some brownies for our retreat.
Great. Good.
And lastly, what's a book that you would recommend for everyone to read?
Mm. Yeah, this is also a difficult question.
It is.
And what comes to me is a book that I haven't read for maybe 10 years, but it's come to me and it's called Soul Shaping by Jeff
Mm,
Brown.
okay.
And I'm pretty sure that's the author's name. And it was a significant moment in my life. It really supported me to listen to something deeper in me, a deeper calling, and let go of this path that I thought I was on. It was a very pivotal book in my journey. So
Mm,
soul shaping.
thank you. I will definitely check that one out.
Yeah.
Well, Bella, it's been such an honor having you here on Star Potential today. Thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to be in the same room as you in just a few weeks and get to have that transformative group experience. So,
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing you then.
Yeah, me too. It's been beautiful being on. I've really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Oh my goodness, so many revelatory moments for me in that conversation. I can't wait to hear what yours were as well. Bella came very highly recommended to me from some close friends, some of which have appeared on Star Potential. And basically, I signed up for the retreat on the recommendation of this friend, saying, this is some of the most profound work that I've ever done. And this friend does a lot of profound and deep work on herself consistently. And so I really take those words to heart, and I'm excited to be a part of the upcoming retreat. I had the privilege of getting a little sample of Bella's work over a Zoom call with a room full of people. And wow, just so much feeling, even just with her presence. You feel deeply held. And in that safety, we feel okay to let down our guard and to truly feel. And so I look forward to the opportunity for you listening to have that experience as well. You can go to belacrowder.com and schedule a one-on-one discovery call to discover what might be right for you. And now I'd like to go over some of our key takeaways today from this conversation. Practicing feeling equals intimacy with self. It's not a reactionary self-wallowing, but rather a practice of staying within our body as we process, expanding our capacity to love whatever we may discover. And through that practice, we discover our true nature beneath our patterns and roles. Our only job is to meet ourselves exactly where we are and to love ourselves there. And isn't it beautiful how when we do that, we actually begin to blossom and grow from that acceptance? To begin hearing your heart and your body, slow down. I know this may be the hardest step for you. It was for me. That's where the key is. Feeling can be really scary. That's why we have a pattern of avoiding it. We will often choose familiar misery over unknown happiness. Crazy, right? It takes courage to feel, but there is so much treasure in doing so. You can stay with your feelings, but not be consumed by them. So keep your awareness in charge, not your nervous system. All the answers we are seeking outwardly are ultimately here within our hearts and our bodies. The difference between analysis and feeling, this is another one I've had a really hard time embodying. Well, feeling requires us to surrender our need to know. It's terrifying, right? Instead, trusting that our presence will allow us to stay engaged with the body. Feeling only happens when we let go of our needing to know. Living in devotion to your heart means letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and choosing to embrace myself right where I am. Sending you much love, and until next time, be kind to yourself and others. See you next week. Thank you for tuning into Star Potential with Julie Jo Hughes. If this episode resonates with you, I invite you to take 2 seconds, scroll down, and click 5 stars on the rating. It's a fast and easy way to help the show gain exposure and momentum. If you're loving the show, I invite you to leave a quick review about what you love. Reviews are like gold to podcasters, and to show my gratitude, you'll be entered to win my monthly giveaway when you send me a screenshot of your review. I also made you a gift. It's a 9-minute, simple gratitude meditation with singing to help you practice mindfulness. Just visit me on Instagram at @TheJulieJo or find the link in the show notes. Thank you for your love and support. Until next time, keep shining your light. And that's a wrap.